to Mind Your Biz. My name is Seth, and in today's Creator Highlight episode, I have with me for the first time. You might not know this person, or you might not realize that you know this person because you might see them and think, this person's face is vaguely familiar. Where do I know them from? And it's because you've definitely seen her on stage speaking live at several NFT and crypto-oriented events. She's becoming a force for good in the Web3 ecosystem. And I know her as Tina. You might know her as TinTinJPEG. Tina, welcome to Mind Your Biz.
Hi. Wow, what an introduction. Thank you, Seth. I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, are you kidding? Here's the thing, it's earned. So Tina, we've been able to go to a couple of events, I think only in a couple different markets, but I think primarily Florida, right? Miami, and then is it Las Vegas?
Yeah.
No, Pasadena.
LA.
Yeah. So
yeah, Pasadena. Yeah, we've been on quite some stages together. I always say, you bring so much knowledge to the conversation, so I'm always excited when we're sharing a panel.
We'll definitely appreciate that. That's kind of my aim, is to raise the IQ of any room that we're in, talking about crypto. But here's the thing. You need to raise all kinds of other things that crypto lacks. And we're going to talk about what you're building in just a minute. But for the Mind Your Biz audience that maybe doesn't know you and is not as familiar with you, or had a chance to, sit down to dinner with you and ask you about your life story, please tell them about Tina in 30 seconds. Who is Tina?
Sure. So Tina, I am a builder first. I'm an investor. I'm a creator in the Web3 and crypto space. I founded my company Tonic Labs back in 2020 with the goal of, finding ways to build on this awesome technology and just trying to improve user experience, any voids that we can fill. And yeah, that's basically me in 30 seconds.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Here's a founder that actually did the assignment, that actually knows how to do an elevator pitch. So thank you for actually fitting that into 30 seconds.
Seriously. Of course.
Well, here's the thing. So people don't understand that the art of the elevator pitch is deceptively hard. Actually, you look at it and people who actually know what they're doing make it seem very easy. But it takes practice. It takes public speaking skill, and it's a skill you have to develop. So I don't know. It's a silly thing. I don't mean to gush, but actually knowing how to fill 30 seconds and give all the relevant info, it is a skill. So I can tell you've actually practiced that. But let's do a deeper dive in just a minute here. Let's get a little more background on you, Tina. People always ask, how did you get it? I'm just gonna kind of say, for the record, I think that's one of the most boring questions ever. It's so dumb and inane. We're getting rid of it.
How are you?
What I need to know instead is, yeah, exactly right. It's no, please don't. Yeah, please don't. I mean, the cult gets pretty weird when it comes to talking about Satoshi, right? Would you commit seppuku on the steps of the temple of Satoshi? Hopefully not. Tina, in your case, because we know you're not a crypto radical, you're not a maximalist radical. You're a person who's clearly working because you see opportunity. But what I want to know is, and what I think the Mind Your Biz community wants to know is, who was Tina before you had any concept of Bitcoin, cryptos, NFTs, any of this digital economy that we're working with in Web3? Who was that person? The origin story.
Yeah, sure. So the origin story, I guess we could go back to, my school years. I went with finance because I liked numbers and dealing with math more than any other subject. So yeah, I went with finance, but I was definitely still more confused on what I'm doing. But I was actually able to, manage a few ventures in different industries. And I feel like that gave me so much insight into, how the microeconomics of each sector works, really. And just having
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm really sorry, but I need to know, which sectors, which verticals did you operate in?
Yeah, sure. So actually, I've been in many different sectors. My path has been very eventful. I feel like that's just the kind of person I am. I like to, experiment and try new things, and I like to move forward and go towards where innovation is. So that's probably why I ended up here. But I've been in building development. I've been in hospitality. I've been in many different industries, to be honest. And it's been great for my, at some point you're kind of confused of oh, what am I, is this gonna in the end work towards something for me, or am I just learning different skills? And I feel like, but having had to manage funds of these businesses and forecasting to make sure operations run smoothly and all, it gave me more insights into analytics and data, and kind of just making sense of the economic data. And I feel like that was definitely a major thing that set me up to be here today, you know, being a founder in this space. Like I said, you know, there's that phrase that you always hear, jack of all trades, but a master of none, but it's better than being a master of one or something like that. And I feel like for the longest time, I was kind of confused of like, you know, how these skills will kind of like fall into place for me. And you're putting, you know, your blood and sweat, and, you know, I'm a very hard worker and a self-motivated person. So I was working very hard for, you know, other people's ventures or companies. So at some point I realized that I have the skill set to, you know, have my own. And I was fortunate to already have networked enough to have a very, you know, smart and partner who's much smarter than me, and, you know, just put a team together that's, you know, a professional team that I've worked with in the past. So yeah, it's been a very eventful journey, but I wouldn't change it for anything.
Amazing. Thanks for giving us the high level overview. If it's okay, I'd like to do just a little bit of a deep dive into a couple of those points that you brought up. I'm curious, these roles that you've done for other groups, building, right, and executing on somebody else's dream and vision, but learning those skills that you did along the way. Were those primarily like, were you assisting with executive vision? Were you assisting on the finance side, the operations side? Were you kind of tasked with a variety of things that you needed to learn from?
Yeah, I
What
was
did that look
tasked
like?
with a variety of things. Yeah, that's a good question. I think I was tasked with a variety of things depending on, you know, what I was working on at the moment. I think mostly in the financial side of things because of, you know, my degree, and post grad, I did realize, you know, post getting my finance degree, I realized that I was just very into the concept of money. And it was, you know, more than math and numbers at that point because I was understanding it, and I was like, okay, I'm really into this. And then after that, I was like alternative currencies, and that kind of what led me to crypto. But, you know, I've always been into managing money, and I think my favorite thing was like corporate finance always. But I definitely like I'm a person that gets bored. I don't like to be stuck at a cubicle. You know, I like to learn as much as I can and every skill that I can. So that's why I would, you know, come out of my and have activities in other sectors as well. But I've even like done stuff as like pre-COVID, I was like planning and throwing my own festivals, you know. So that was pretty fun. I did two before
That's
COVID
awesome.
happened, and then yeah, and then after the pandemic, I was like, you know what, this is too much work and too much liability. I'd rather do something more with like my other stuff that's on par with whatever I'm doing on my other businesses. But that was a fun thing that I did on the side, and it worked out pretty well.
That is amazing. Okay, thanks for some of that context and in the background as well. I'm kind of curious. You mentioned that all of it sort of inevitably, you felt like it was inevitable that it brought you towards this new hotbed of innovation that is crypto, right? There's so much happening that you felt like it was inevitable that you would eventually wind up here. Well, I'm kind of curious, without asking you, like, how did you get into crypto? I want to know, what was the point of no return for you when you realized, based on your own experiences and your own sort of hands-on work with crypto, that you sort of, the light bulb went off and you said, wow, there's no version of Tina in the future that does not have crypto by her side. How did that happen for you?
That's a very interesting question, Seth. It's a question you don't get asked too much. Like you said, most people just want to know how you got here, you know? But I think that's
Yeah,
a
no,
very
I
good
know. I want
question.
to know where passion comes from, though. That's the thing, right? Like
Yeah,
people always say, like, "Oh, you have so much passion." I'm like, "Yeah, cool. Let's study that. Let's find out. Let's
exactly.
find out where
You're
that comes
right.
from. Maybe we can actually help people." But yeah,
For sure. I feel
sorry
like,
for you.
first of all, just like understanding that, you know, I feel like I'm early here, you know, so being early in this space, you're able to kind of like identify issues and stuff that, you know, could be better in this early age of crypto. And I think it's not only a privilege, but it's also quite fun to be able to, you know, figure out ways that we could deal with this and provide some type of solution to this decentralized space. And I think it was just like acknowledging and understanding my limitations when it comes to the legacy that I may or may not be able to leave behind in terms of fiat compared to crypto. And, you know, one has already passed, as we know. So I think that it's just like understanding how much opportunities it provides, and what I could do. And there's so many smart people in the space. You know, I love to just pick brains like yours and see, you know, how we could improve. So I feel like that was the kind of the point of no return for me, understanding that fiat doesn't have that many, you know, opportunities left for me. And I like to, just being the type of person I am, I like to have the best seat at the table at whatever I'm doing. So that's kind of why I ended up here. But I feel like a small part of it is that I'm also an immigrant. So just understanding, the debasing of other currencies and how it could, like, my parents have worked for so hard and for so long, and just seeing that everything they have could be like easily worth nothing because of like having to move here and now convert it to this currency. And it could be, so things like that, I feel like definitely like added to my journey, that I really understood the value of crypto and the freedom that it allows you to have. But yeah, that's
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you bringing that context also of being. And I apologize. I'm going to just quickly a personal anecdote. When you mentioned being the daughter of immigrants or being an immigrant yourself, I'm the son of an immigrant, and when I was much younger, we lived internationally, and my family lived through a complete devaluation of the national currency, of the national fiat, where we had to escape to come back to the United States, and it was extremely difficult because we were illiquid, right? So like we were insolvent. Sorry. Yes, my family experienced it with I think at the time, 6 children in the family trying to get back into the United States. The thing we had going for us was citizenship. Thank goodness. But I can imagine, because like it really is devastating for a family that maybe didn't soar to the highest echelon of wealth. The people that talk about being self-made, they're like, yeah, I lost it all and then I got it all back and I lost it all again, and like that. Like, I feel like if you haven't quite gotten that to that point where you figured out how to, like, oh yeah, how do you become a multimillionaire? Easy, I just run this playbook again. Like, if you're not that person yet
overnight.
yeah, right. But if you're not that person yet, or if your family isn't that culture yet, it's and you're still like trying to figure some of those things out, it's like that big financial hit can be super devastating. Anyway, I don't want to go too deep and delve too deep into that, because I know you're building things, and what you're building has a tremendous use case. It really resonated with me for some of the privacy implications, which maybe we can get to in a second episode. Maybe we can do a follow-up on a deeper dive on some of the privacy and sovereignty implications of what you're building. But I just wanted to mention, like, you brought that up, and man, that, like, people don't get it. If you haven't seen it, people don't get it. Like, how fiat currencies are actually destroying lives internationally, destroying families internationally. So so you brought that up and it's resonated is all. So
I feel like, just having lived it, like, it just puts it really into perspective, because you hear things, you always hear quotes or other people talking about it, but then it really puts it into perspective when you've lived it and actually saw the struggle. So I completely get it.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Wheelbarrows full of cash that's like worthless. So but let's talk about a little bit about things that you view as big wins and milestones so far, because you've been building, as you mentioned, now in a post-COVID world. Events are back up and running, but you're already past the whole, like, running some of the events and festivals that you were doing back then. You're now in full building mode of Web3. What are some milestones and things that you view as a win?
Yeah, so I think, like, in general, it's been building, and we're finally ready with Boomerang. But, I actually am proud to say that I've had 2 failures under my belt as well. I've been here and I've been trying to figure out what to build. I don't think that it's fair to say, oh, we just came up with this. No, I think that it's just been a lot of, like, hard work by my team and I. We actually fully made 2 other products and put them out in the market for a very short period of time, and saw that there was a lack of interest. So we quickly, went back to the whiteboard and we got to working again. And I am still very even proud of those products. I think that having the experience that I have now, they could have been, they could have performed better if I maybe executed better. But I think that it's just a learning process. I think that they taught me so much, not just about the market, but also, like, one of them had to do with regulations. And I learned so much about the crypto regulations in the US, Gary Gensler, the SEC. I watched all of Gary Gensler's MIT videos on blockchain and money, and that just taught me so much more about the technology. So I feel like I don't feel like they're big failures for me. They were just, experimenting and learning the market. This is such a new market that you can't just, take a lecture or take a course or read an article on it and know exactly what to do. There's no playbook on how to do this. And that's what kind of excites me the most as well, kind of figuring it out and being pioneers in this space. it's just not for the weak heart for sure. You have to have, there's just
No.
gonna be a lot of stress and sleepless nights. I always make this joke. I'm like, oh, our founder's allowed to sleep, because you're not.
No, but yeah, bare minimum for 6 months. Yeah, for sure. That's why so many people compare it to like whatever. This is my baby, and it's like that because you literally don't sleep for like 6 months to a year.
It is my baby, and maybe like other girls around my age are getting married or having babies, but I have a baby.
Yeah. Oh well. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. For me, I've got strong feelings on that. But I get why the comparison is apt, right? Like you literally don't sleep. All of your waking attention is just turned towards this. People DM you at whatever 11:30 p.m. your local time, and it's like, okay, let's go. We're developing this idea right now. We got a problem to solve. We're doing it right now at 11:30 p.m. So and
it's like it's much more of a chill space, where it comes to like conducting business. It's not like what I'm used to in the professional traditional world of doing things. And so it was definitely like a little bit of an adjustment for me too. I feel like most of my DMs look like emails just because I'm not used, I've just been doing that way for such a long time that it took me a while to kind of be more comfortable and just like interact with people in a different way. But I also know that like I still kept those things that I go by. Like, I feel like sometimes I get a little annoyed or pissed off about people, not responding to messages. I'm like, Seth, you are different. Like you still, you operate things on a very professional level. But I feel like sometimes I get frustrated at like people take long to respond to. And I'm like, I'm over here building a product, running a team, and I'm still responding to your message within an hour or so.
It can be tough. Yeah, it can be tough. There is that sensibility within cryptocurrency when you're building something that you have a lot of people who have non-traditional backgrounds, bare minimum, and then some other people who are just not very professional, like you're saying. Like it can be both, right? Where you have somebody like whatever, they came from medicine, right? And it's like, okay, you're used to having agendas, or memos, like distributed a very specific way, and you might be Johnny on the spot, but there may be some things that you don't actually understand by way of insight. Or other people who like whatever, they come from traditional finance and they just know that the only way forward is VC funding and doing things a very specific way.
And it is a global space. Yeah. You're right. People have different backgrounds, different jobs, and it is a global space. So it even takes it to another level.
Yeah. On that note, let's take this conversation to another level where we show off a little bit of what you're building. This isn't everything, but this is Boomerang.Art, and appreciate you sharing this with me, right? So we could have a visual as we're talking about this. But let's talk about big wins and milestones here, and we'll start at the base level. What does this do, and who is it for?
Okay, so this is for crypto users, and what Boomerang does, it's going to enable communications for crypto users with just the wallet address. So now you can just slide into somebody's DM with a message. And I'm very proud of that because as a, crypto daily user, it's something that I would get stuck at a lot, where sometimes, as you know, Seth, not everybody likes to leave their, like in the world of Web3, communication has faced a lot of challenges, whether it's platform restrictions or limitations, and the traditional ways of communicating require you to provide some kind of Web2 contact information. And a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. So we figured out, the blockchain and the data that's already on the blockchain gives us the ability to communicate with one another. So what Boomerang is doing is it's enabling unrestricted communications with just the wallet address, and it really gives you the flexibility to program your token. So it gives you a full-scale whiteboard to design and combine textual or visual elements together. Grid, no grid. I'm very proud of the whiteboard. I think it's very professional for somebody who's actually trying to design something. But you can also just upload your art if you're not into that. So, and then you could just set how long you want the user to have this for. So you set the disappearing time, when you want it to expire from their wallet, and then you send it off, and then bam, they have your message in their wallet address. And I'm just very excited about this. We've been working on it for a while, and I feel like it actually solves a problem that most of us daily users have been facing. But yeah.
Amazing. I absolutely love that. And I want to talk to you about this with the deeper dive. This is the time to run the banner, right? Because I want people to just need to know, I mean, unless I missed it, you weren't soliciting investment, were you? Okay. Just wanted to be sure. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I heard you solicit investment, but I run the banner anyway, because people just get weird about, anytime you're talking about anything that's crypto related on the internet. So yeah, I don't think that was investment advice, but I love what the solution or the problem domain that you're entering into here. Like you mentioned, messaging. I know there's huge privacy implications for this. And what I want to ask you just with a simple yes or no, are you working towards helping users keep their communications private?
So this, I feel like that, we have built this platform in a way that it's truly scalable. So scalability is at the heart of our roadmap. So this is our first rollout in the phase 1. So in the phase 1, that what you're getting, basically, it's not like a chat function when you're messaging with somebody back and forth. This is kind of in a way for you to get into contact with somebody, right? So let's say you want to get somebody on your channel, you want to reach out to the top 3, biggest crypto holders and see if you can get an interview. Now you have this option because they're not going to leave like a Twitter or a messaging option on their wallet address. So now you have the option to kind of reach out to them and see if there's any interest from their side. But like, I look at it a lot more useful for marketing stuff. Like, you can send a piece of your work, whether you're an artist or something, and you don't want them to have the art forever because now they're not going to come and purchase it. But you want the potential prospect buyers to see your art and get familiar with you. Now you have a way of, sending a piece of your art and then it'll disappear from their wallet address in like whatever time that you choose. I think maximum is 3 days, but you could go from 2 hours, 4 hours, So I think that is definitely a big part of it. Or if you're trying to reach out to your community with alpha, you want to just send a quick message, or you want to give like timed access to something because then it will disappear. But I look at it as being useful for ticketing, or whether it's virtual or in-person events. So yeah, I think it's always a little different than like a chat function in that way. But I think that's something that we can also work towards building in the future, something that provides privacy of those. But I think that one thing that I'm very excited about is the disappearing effect of it, whereas you're not really cluttering anybody's wallets, and the information will go away even if you check on the metadata later, and not in their wallet, but check it on the blockchain later. You'll see that the picture even has changed. So like you won't even see the original message on it anymore. So yeah.
Well, Tina, sorry for the interruption, but that feature alone, like you're talking about, that is one of the core best practices for information security in terms of even whether or not you have encryption as the means of achieving privacy, but having disappearing messages is something that, it's a checkbox that absolutely has to be filled when you're looking at privacy-oriented messengers. So the fact that you're already starting with a time-limited messaging feature means that there is some privacy function in it. I want to say that I already dug through your documentation. I think I already knew that, which is why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
But I'm something of a privacy advocate, and that sounds very promising to me. Is that you're starting with that as a core primitive? So.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it, Seth. I go to you always for advice too. So I'm happy that, you think this is useful, because for me personally, like I see the use case, but it has become my baby too. So sometimes you feel like maybe I'm too close to it, but I've been getting such good feedback in the past weeks, just doing interviews with different, creators or people of influence in the space. And I've been getting such a good feedback that it's like, oh, okay. So, it wasn't just in my head, because you do struggle in the beginning with the idea of whatever you're building or even the concept of it. But yeah.
Oh yeah. And when it's funny because VC funding or having yeah, right. Well, angels and whales and VCs, they'll all blow smoke too. They'll fund you for whatever amount and then tell you like, no, this could be great. And you have no idea what they're thinking. They're thinking this will be great when we replace you as CEO, right? Like 2 years from now or whatever. You can never quite tell. So I hear you. The imposter syndrome is real and nobody is immune. Nobody in terms of doubting some aspects of what you're building.
Exactly. But like other spaces, you could do, testing, or you can go through data that's already been published before for other products that are similar to yours. But this is something that's first of its kind. So I think the most challenging part was just, no data on something that we're building, because it's truly just new. But yeah, I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited about it. Yeah, I'm excited. So as of today's recording, you realize that we're recording in late August, but are there upcoming dates that you're excited about for the roadmap that you could tell us about really quickly? Maybe some secret alpha you can let us in on?
Yeah. So actually, nobody knows this yet, but in just a few days, Boomerang will be ready for use. But other than that, we have an active roadmap that we have a lot of exciting things that we're already actively building out. But we figured, let's do it in phases so we can have this available, because that function by itself is something that I feel like a lot of people will just want to use. But also, like, in our next phase, we have curating and generating collections. We have IPFS service integration for collections. And the most exciting part, we have AI being added to our whiteboard. So now, even if you don't, you can use the help of AI in your artwork, basically. But
Very
in
cool.
our third phase, we're going to have, the BNFT messaging integrated with other popular blockchains. So currently we have Ethereum and Polygon that will be available in our first phase. But in the next phases, we'll have, Solana, Cardano, and the most popular blockchains. But yeah, and we will also have crypto analytics and, data based on data, insights based on data.
Okay, no, this is amazing, and it's very ambitious. And I was thoroughly impressed when I saw the documentation of what you not just what you have roadmap, but what you have built so far. And I'll just say right here, I'll commit to it on Mind Your Biz. I've got to get you connected with the All Roads Lead to Polygon team, because it is Polygon and QuickSwap, the two largest.
I've been trying to reach out.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, let me help close that loop, because I would love to be on stage when you present there. So, like, yeah, selfishly, like, I'd just love to witness the moment of you talking about it to this team. But I can definitely do that. So grateful to you for laying out what you're building here on oh, good grief, Boomerang.Art. I'm totally having a senior moment.
Way.
I'm a little bit pressed for time, so I've got to call it right there for our interview. But Tina, where can people find out more, and what do you want them to do when they get there?
Sure. So if you're a nerd like I am, you can check the white paper. So it's docs.boomerang.art. And I feel like the white paper really shows everything. We've even provided screenshots of the process of sending the message. So you really know how the dApp looks and will work like. But also, other than that, I would say follow our Twitter, Boomerang dApp, to be up to date with, as we're rolling this out. And the website, like you showed, it was Boomerang.Art, which is not updated yet, but it will be in a few days. So yeah, thank you so much, Seth. This was a great session.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Audience, you see all the links down in the description below. Go ahead and click all those buttons. Follow Tina, follow the project. Thank you for being tuned in. You're the reason to make this media. I love your face. Remember to stay private and mind your biz. See ya.